Sure, you might lose the first 15 pounds faster than someone who's going a little less, but you will stay at the destination, right? And I think that's what is so important. And again, it's ultimately doing what you say you're going to do, but make sure what you say you're going to do is realistic, and make sure you feel hopeful, right? The hope is so important, because I really think that's the precursor to confidence. If you don't feel hopeful, then you're not going to feel confident in your ability to follow through. You're going to feel skeptical. You're going to feel like, oh, here I go again. This is not going to work.
Right. I am super excited because I know you have not seen the show, but any of you out there who have watched Justified, just so you know, and this is kind of like a plug, I guess, but they're doing a reboot called like Justified Primeval or something like that. But anyway, Timothy Olyphant is like the only actor I've ever swooned over. Very handsome. But here's the deal. So Adam, first of all, you have to watch the series. Justified, Raylan Givens, like the coolest modern day gunslinger you've ever seen. But what has inspired me today is this man's confidence. The character Raylan Givens has incredible confidence, right? Like anybody he comes up against, anybody who crosses his path, who's like, I'm going to take you out. He just like moves his coat aside and just barely puts his hand on his gun in his holster. And he knows, go ahead, buddy, go ahead, because I got you, right? Like he can sling that gun and take somebody out in like half a second. It is just amazing. And I was so like, I've been rewatching the series and I was like, you know what? That's it. Confidence. Confidence is what we need to achieve the things we want in our lives. And I thought about like, how much time and effort and skills practice does somebody have to put into something like gunslinging, much less hitting a target, right? To have confidence like that, where he just knows like, I'm gonna be alive in the next second, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about today. Confidence.
Gunslinging.
Gunslinging confidence, especially when it comes to health and fitness.
I love it. I mean, you know, one of my favorite parts about doing what I do, doing what we do, is when people reach their goal and they tell us and they share how much confidence they have, and how that confidence that they gain from their health and fitness, from following through in their health and fitness pursuit and reaching their goal, has cascaded and spilled over into other areas of life, right? I always say, like, when you conquer yourself, you feel like you can conquer the world. And that to me is the best part. And I really believe that when you gain that confidence with yourself and your health and fitness, it really does. It spills over into every other aspect of your life. And that's why we hear it all the time. It's like, you know, now that I've reached this goal, it's like, you know what, now I'm going to pursue this, or now I'm going to try that. Like, I love that. That's so cool.
Yes.
So this is a really exciting and powerful topic. And the point of today's talk here is, besides revealing your crush, is to help you build confidence.
Yes, definitely. And it's simple to do, right? But it takes some finessing. It takes some like stub toes along the way. But basically, right, like we build confidence by determining a goal and seeing it through. Yes. And listen, again, think about how many times he must have, like, in all the acting days of practicing this movement, he must have messed that up, right? But he had a goal to figure out how to get that gun out of the holster as fast as he could, right? And so, first of all, you have to just set a goal, right? And try it out. And it's the follow through, it's the integrity that comes from following through on trying to reach a goal, where you start to grow and gain confidence. And kind of side note, it's really about building skills, right? Like, I think sometimes we get distracted and we're like, okay, I set this goal to lose this weight or to lift however many pounds. And we just think that like we should just do it. But you have to build skills. And so your little micro goals are actually skills development. And it helps you grow your confidence like in a very sort of methodical and slow, gradual, exciting way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think
it's,
the, oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go.
No, so I was just gonna say it's really it's a pretty basic and simple and standard formula. It's also Adam's formula for hope, right? It's like determining a goal, and honestly, like it has to be realistic. So there's a couple of things that happen, I think, Adam, when we set goals and we kind of fall short. Sometimes the goal is too big, right? Like it's just too big, or it's unsustainable. Hello, diets. Um, or maybe you don't have the skills for it yet. And that could also fall under the lump of a goal being too big, right? And so that's a reminder to set realistic goals. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I was just going to kind of dive into my formula for hope just to,
Oh, okay.
because listen, OWA, right? I'm obsessed with acronyms. So
I feel like I see a new one every day. I can't keep up.
there's a lot to remember, so I need these acronyms. So the formula for hope is CPA.
Okay.
So C stands for a clear and defined goal, right? P stands for a pathway or a plan to reach your goal. And A stands for actually believing you can reach your goal, or I should say, actually believing you can follow the plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So clear and defined goal, plan to reach a goal, actually believing you can follow the plan. And the challenge, or I should say, the mistake many of us make is the plan we're trying to follow is not sustainable, right? We don't actually believe we can follow through with it, right? It's far more effective to follow a plan that is here than to go to a plan that is like 100% that we're going all or nothing and only to fall short. Like bring it down a little bit. I always say like you want to feel like you can absolutely, no matter what, stick with the plan. Like that is so important because when we don't follow through, it wears on us. It's like a lead balloon hanging over our head. It makes us feel bad. It brings us down.
Yeah.
And, I often say like when our intentions and actions are in alignment, happiness ensues, right? And when they're not in alignment, it doesn't. We feel bad, right? So make sure that you can follow, that your intentions, what you want to do, and your actions are in alignment. And again, even if you have to lower the bar a little bit, do it. It's far more effective to commit to exercising 4 times a week and actually doing it than say you're going to exercise 6 times a week and exercising 5, in my opinion. Because committing to 6 and not doing it, again, it brings you down. It makes you feel bad. It brings down your confidence.
Right. It's the hole in the bucket of confidence for sure. And our goal is to grow that confidence, to grow integrity in ourselves. So I think that first step is super crucial, right? Clearly defined goal, but also realistic. It has to be within reach. And it is a bit of finessing, right? So here's the other kind of insider tip, which is look, you can't fail if you try. And I know there's people out there going, well, that's kind of like the weenie way of looking at things. But truly, like, do yourself a favor and give yourself that tip. You can't fail if you try, because if you try and you kind of miss the mark, look at your outcomes, right? You may have gone a little too far on your goal. It may have been unrealistic. And so you want to dial it back and find a new goal within those outcomes. Oh, I don't have this skill yet. Let me step it back and develop that skill. Right? Or 6 days was too many. I only made it to 5. So why don't I knock it down a notch and go for 5 days instead? But you got to try, right? Like, I think that's the other thing. And sometimes I do see clients kind of get stuck on that, right? Like they just don't try it on. It's like, okay, then we have to realize that's not the goal for you. And we have to pivot. That's another piece.
Trying leads to information. And then based on that information, we can adjust.
Yes.
If you don't try, there's no information. And I think if you look at it that way, hey, I'm trying this week to do X. If I hit the mark, great. Maybe next week we push the mark up a little higher. And if I miss the mark, then we need to adjust. It does not mean we quit. It does not mean we quit.
Right. And I think that's a really important point you bring up as well. You have to determine how you're going to track your progress, right? Whether, it's on a timeline and you're looking for a certain number of repetitions, if you will, Or, if you're working with a coach and the coach has eyes on things and they're kind of tracking mindset changes, which is a little bit different. Also watching to see if some of these new skills you're developing, if they're behavioral skills, are they starting to show up more and without as much effort, right? So you have to determine kind of a timeline for practice and how you're going to track that progress as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you touched upon like these, non-scale victories, these mindset changes. They're much more challenging to kind of track because it's like, with working out or exercise, like, all right, I'm committing to 4 times and I did it, very tangible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
committing to, I don't know, eating, this, like you either did it or you didn't. Mindset is obviously, it's a little more elusive. Um, and
It
I think the
is.
challenge also, we tend to kind of focus on what we didn't do and all the mindset changes we haven't done versus all the success, right? We could say, there could be an instance where we easily pass up a food that used to kind of have a hold on us, but then, later that night we kind of maybe fall back to, eating something we want to try to avoid. And they're like, oh, this isn't working, but we forgot about the win earlier in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to just give yourself that grace and not only focus on what you're not doing, but the changes you are making.
Yes, I actually have a client right now who is texting me every day. We're working on, it is a skill, it is a behavior, but it's also a mindset. We're working on her growing her confidence and kind of putting herself and her family first. She's an entrepreneur, very, very busy. And over the last couple of years, she's kind of sacrificed all, including her health, for her business. And so we're trying to find a way and a goal each week that we can kind of compound over time for her to really put herself back in the number one slot. And so I've been tasking her with like every day I need a text from you that tells me where you drew the line, right? Where did you draw the line today? And you put yourself first. And so we've been kind of growing that as her goal right now. We're not looking at the scale. We're not looking at the food she's eating necessarily. We're not looking at hours spent exercising. No, we're kind of looking at this. And it's funny because, one might think, well, I didn't put myself first at all today. But what we found is sometimes she would put her family over business. And that was her putting herself first because her family is a very important thing to her. So that's one example. And that's a lot of mindset work as well.
Yeah. 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 I mean, listen, I don't know. Confidence to me, I mean, that is so important. And I think also it comes from evidence of, people ask me like, how are you so confident in your program? And, I've been at this since 2007, 16 years now. But it also comes from evidence, right? It comes from all the evidence of the thousands of people we've worked with who've trusted us and trust the process. And I know what happens if they do that. Mm-hmm. And for our own selves, it's like it comes from evidence. Like when you know that you have the power to follow through or that you've done it before, that's really powerful. So look at your prior evidence and say, hey, I've done this before. And even if you just do something one time, that's a feather in the cap of or that's like a vote of, yes, I can do this, right? And that's why when we talk about, maybe skipping, ice cream for fruit, don't worry about doing it for the rest of your life. Do it one time, and then you have the confidence. All right, I did it one time, and it gets easier and easier.
Right. And I think too, people don't give themselves enough credit for the things they've achieved. You talk about look at the evidence. I would challenge any one of you out there to look at your life and look at the things you've accomplished. Can you withstand one night without ice cream? Hell yes. Hell yes, right? Like I just had this conversation with another client of mine the other day, and she's really been doubting herself in her decision making. She feels like she's constantly seeking outside approval for every decision she makes. And I said to her, you are a nurse. You got yourself through nursing school. You moved yourself halfway across the world. And you live by yourself and you pay your own bills. You can do this, and she just kind of went, oh yeah, I can. So give yourself credit.
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly we forget about all the discomfort we've embraced, all the incredible challenges we've gotten through when it comes to our health and fitness. And it's like when you give people and kind of put when you say, hey, let's look at all the other things you've accomplished in your life and you help them focus on all the evidence that they do have, it is refreshing. But for a lot of people, they just don't have the confidence for their health and fitness. They don't feel like they can follow through, or they feel like that if they lose the weight, they're going to eventually gain it back. They don't have that confidence in themselves.
Yeah.
And it really starts with, as simple as it sounds, doing what you say you're going to do. And again, the challenge is there's a part of us that feels like if we're not going 100%, then it's not worth doing anything at all. And it leaves us in this this in-between state, right? But if you use it prior evidence and say, hey, when I've done it this way, this is the outcome, this is what ends up happening, then obviously I need to do something differently this time. That should be helpful. And it should also remind you, you know what, it's far more effective to go a little, less intense and stay at the destination, right? I always say like to New York, California. If you're driving from New York to California and you're going 100 miles per hour, eventually you're going to burn out, something's going to happen. Maybe you'll get to Nebraska first, but the person who goes 80 miles an hour or 70 miles an hour is definitely going to get to California and nothing's going to happen and they're going to be able to stay there, right? Like maybe that's not the perfect analogy, but I think you understand my point. It's like, sure, you might lose the first 15 pounds faster than someone who's going a little less, but you will stay at the destination, right? And I think that's what is so important. And again, it's ultimately doing what you say you're going to do, but make sure what you say you're going to do is realistic and make sure you feel hopeful, right? The hope is so important because I really think that's the precursor to confidence. If you don't feel hopeful, then you're not going to feel confident in your ability to follow through. You're going to feel skeptical. You're going to feel like, oh, here I go again. This is not going to work.
Right. Yeah. Getting healthy, getting fit. It's skills, it's hope, it's confidence. That's all it is. And there's a very easy way to create those things, right? We shared it. Clearly defined, realistic goal, a path to get there, right? Put it on a timeline, determine how you're going to track progress, and get out there and try it. So you get evidence of, is this working or not? Do I need to adjust?
Yeah. I mean, and of course, like people joke, it's like, I can just snap a finger and be at my goal weight. But like the beautiful part about it, like that struggle, that, give and take, that kind of up and down, like eventually that's going to lead to confidence. And that feeling is earned. You can't fake that. And like when you get to your goal, and I truly mean that, when you get to your goal, not if, like that's the feeling I want for you because it is absolutely life-changing. It feels incredible. When you believe that when you put your mind to something, you can follow through, like that's incredible, right? That's what we're after. And I know that if you follow through, I'm confident that if you follow through in what we're talking about here, that you will get to that point.
Definitely. All right, Adam, anything else?
I think that's it. I think, I think we shared a good amount about confidence, and I'm hopeful that you guys take the advice in this video and apply it. And I think the biggest thing, again, is confidence is, I think, when it comes to your health and fitness, is doing what you're saying you're going to do, believing you can actually do it. And the key thing really is like knowing you can do it no matter what. Even if you have the craziest day or craziest week, I know for a lot of people, end of school is coming up, schedules are crazy, end of school parties, this and that. Adjust the plan, right? Scale it down. Make sure you feel confident with the plan. Don't set yourself up for failure.
Absolutely. And if anybody out there shares an affinity for Timothy Olyphant, email me separately. All right, guys. No, but seriously, email Adam or leave some comments below and let us know how your confidence building is going. We'll see you next time.